Hi, my name is Mrs. Allers, and I know that heading into the unfamiliar territory of special education can be a scary and overwhelming thing. I have created this short video to help you understand the process of special education, as well as give you some resources to use in the future. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to contact me and I'll try to assist you in any way possible. Remember, communication is key, and between you and I, we will make your child's future bright. I'm just going to go over a brief history of special education to give you a little background knowledge of where it came from. While there were some early educational opportunities for individuals with special needs, like schools for the blind and the deaf, special education really started to come around after World War II. During this time, a number of parent-organized advocacy groups surfaced. One of their first organizations was the American Association on Mental Deficiency, which held its first convention in 1947. By the early 50s, fueled by the civil rights movement, a number of other parent organizations were formed. All these different advocacies eventually led to the congressional approval of the Education for All Handicapped Children Act, or Public Law 94-142. This is also known as the Individuals with Disability Act, or IDEA. This is something that you should become familiar with. So what does this all mean? The IDEA has four specific purposes: to guarantee a free public education for disabled children, to protect the rights of the child and his or her family, to help the state and local facilities provide for disabled children, and to ensure the child receives an adequate and effective education. Now, part of that adequate and effective education requires the development of an IEP, or Individualized Education Program, and also that the child is in the least restrictive environment. And I'll go over those two things here in a moment. So what students are eligible for special education? According to the IDEA, if a student in a classroom fits into any of the following categories, special services should be provided: autism, deafness, blindness, hearing impairment, mental disabilities, multiple disabilities, orthopedic impairment, other health impairment such as ADD or ADHD, Tourette syndrome, emotional disturbance, specific learning disabilities, speech or language impairment, traumatic brain injury, visual impairment or blindness, and pervasive developmental disorders. Now, you should be able to know what category your child falls under. If you have any questions, please feel free to get a hold of me and I can explain them to you a little bit more. So what should you expect from special education? It starts with a referral, and that will go into an evaluation, but the evaluation is only done with parents' permission. Once the evaluation is done, the IEP team decides if the child has an impairment or if they even need special education. Once that is decided, the IEP team will get together and they'll write the actual IEP. This includes deciding what services the child needs. Now, the IEP, once again, is the Individualized Education Program. It is completely customizable to each student, so each student will have their own different goals and own needs. If they need any services such as speech, that will be included on there. It's very goal-oriented to that particular child. Once the IEP is written, they decide on placement, and that's where the least restrictive environment comes in. More often than not, the student is always going to be placed in the least restrictive environment, which is generally the general education classroom. After that, the LEA implements on the IEP and placement. The IEP team reviews the IEP and placement at least annually. Every year you'll get together with the IEP team and you'll go over all the goals and see if anything else needs to be changed, or if the student has met those goals, you can alter them to keep them advancing on their IEP. Also the IEP team does a reevaluation at least every 3 years, unless the parents and school agree not to. So they'll redo the testing, they'll redo everything to make sure that the child still has an impairment, if they still need special education, and then it just goes on